This is me, heart and soul. Here's a part of me the world may never know. Here's my story. When I lose, I let my guard down. Here's the naked truth. I let my guard down. Here's the naked truth. I let my guard down. I let my guard down. I let my guard down. Here's the naked truth.
My people, welcome to the Naked Truth Experience with Monroe. I'm your host, Monroe, the Essential Life Coach, and I am so excited, so proud to be back on the air with you 2021. Now, I know we are 21 days in, and so y'all probably tired of people saying Happy New Year, but this is the first time you've seen me in 2021, so I'm going to say to you all, Happy New Year. And listen, we've got a lot to be grateful for, because if you are listening to me, if you're watching me, that means you have made it through to this point. And no matter what has come, no matter what has gone, you are still here. And so I'm happy to be here with you. Listen, I want to make sure that we acknowledge the fact that we have a new administration. I'd like to say congratulations to President Biden. Congratulations to our new VP, Ms. Kamala Harris. We are so proud and we are so happy that there is, hopefully, and I am being optimistic, that there is a change on its way. All right. Now, before we dive into what we're talking about here today, I want to make sure that you remember, please like, share, and subscribe. It is so important that as we continue our journey with the Naked Truth Experience with Monroe, that you share that journey with other people, and you can do that and you can help spread the message. And also, I want you to get into our Naked Truth Experience Facebook group. Now, here's my naked truth. There's a lot of naked truth flying around here today, but here's my naked truth. We are going to do a better job with engaging our folks in our Facebook group. What that means is, my commitment to you is that we are going to have some thought-provoking prompts. I want to hear from you about what it is you'd like to be discussed on the Naked Truth Experience. I want to get your reactions to the shows that we produce, and I want us to be better. Help us be better by engaging with us in the Naked Truth Experience Facebook group. So that's my commitment to you. But I want you all to get in there and get active. And for those of you who have been in there, I am coming back, and we are committed to making sure that we continue that dialogue, that conversation. Here's a couple of things. So it is 2021. I took a couple of weeks off, right? This was a much needed but unexpected and unplanned hiatus. As we were approaching the end of 2020 and I turned 40, yes, y'all, your boy is 40 years old now. So proud. Had a wonderful trip, had a wonderful celebration. But as I turned 40, there were some things that were coming up for me that needed my attention. And so I had to take some time away and do the work. And that's what I'm doing, because it's still in process. But I knew that I wanted to get back to my Naked Truth Experience family, because there's so much healing and there is so much more that we need to do, and that there is a purpose for this platform. So I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I see my brother Ken Austin Jr. sipping on carrot and orange juice. I love it. I love it. I love it. There's a couple of things that are changing here. Shelly Champion, yes. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being another loyal listener and you're a contributor, because you've been here. There's a couple of changes, and I just want to be transparent with you all. Julius and I have really been working hard to make sure that we refine the experience. And so one of the things that we're doing is we're going to a shorter format. So tonight, we're 30 minutes. Next week, we're 30 minutes, because we want to make sure we get to the meat of what it is we are talking about, because it's important. I also understand attention spans, including my own, get shorter and shorter and shorter. So we're whittling it down to what is most important. And I have a beautiful conversation tonight with my friend, with my colleague, a wonderful human being all around, Suzy Fauria. And she's going to come and talk to us about our topic, which is goal getters. What's the real reason behind our goal setting? And this is actually going to be a two-part conversation that I'm having with Suzy. So that'll be tonight, and we'll carry over into next week. But you may have noticed I don't have anything I'm sipping on. That doesn't mean I want you to stop sipping. And I will have some things from time to time. Mike, what's going on? I'm having some Malbec in your honor tonight. Mike, I appreciate you, my brother. Please sip for me. And I also want to let you know that we won't be having our wine segments weekly on the show. But I did talk to Dan this week, and we are working on something. We're brewing something up to have a spinoff where we can have a focus on the wine and the conversation. So just stay tuned for that. But just know that we've been working and we've been thinking about you and how can we make sure that we get the best Naked Truth experience with Monroe to you through these means. All right. So tonight, as I mentioned, we're diving into goal getters, right? What is the real reason behind our goal setting? And this hits personal for me because as you will hear in my conversation with Suzy, these were some of the things that were coming up right before I turned 40 in a challenge that I did not finish. I'm mentioning my 40,000 push-ups by 40 years old. And when I knew that I was not going to be able to finish or accomplish that goal, there was a lot that came up for me in the form of shame. There was some regression in progress that I had in embracing my humanity and really feeling like a failure. And it caused me to really interrogate and go within and say, what was the intention behind that goal in the first place? Not that there's anything wrong with goal setting. Let's get that out there right now. There's absolutely nothing wrong with goal setting. And when we do it from the right motivation and intention and from the right vein, right, and with healthy metrics that we're measuring success against, goal setting is a beautiful thing, right? But when we are unclear and unsure, or we may be even deceiving ourselves about what the real motivation is, we have to then be careful about what the outcome could be or the lengths at which we may go in order to achieve them. So that's some of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight and leading into next week. So I want to get into the first part of our conversation with Suzy, and let's go ahead and take a look. Y'all, I'm so excited because today I've got a woman who I absolutely adore and I love. I won't tell you what I affectionately call her. We'll save that for social media, IG. But I want to introduce Suzy Fauria. She is a wonderful, wonderful human being who I absolutely love and adore. We went to grad school together. She is a child therapist, and she's just an all-around wonderful human being. Suzy, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here and see your smile and your face and your energy. It's such a pleasure.
Listen, you know that is a mutual feeling, and I'm just glad to have you on the platform tonight. And, we spend a lot of time just talking and chatting and our own personal relationship. And tonight, I'm so glad that I get to engage you on a professional level as well, right? And so tell us just a little bit about your practice. You're a child therapist. I know you work for a nonprofit organization. Can you talk to me about what you do?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So I'm a child therapist. I work for STEPS to End Family Violence, and I do several different things. I'm a program coordinator and I work to prevent intimate partner violence. And I also work with young people who have experienced trauma. I'm a anti-racist consultant, and I'm also content curator.
Yeah, wellness dialogues. I am so excited for how that has taken off. I have watched your journey. I consume the content that you curate, and I'm so happy for it. But the Wellness Dialogues, if you don't know, make sure you guys go to Wellness Dialogues, Wellness_Dialogues, correct, on IG. And you also have a website. We'll make sure we get that up there, wellnessdialogues.com. Again, just making sure that you are progressing and we get you out there. But I love how you provoke us to conversation with these questions that you ask, that you pose, and it really does make you think. But not only do you pose the questions, but then you go on and you give us practical tools and tips for how might we process through the things that come up from those dialogues, right? And so I really appreciate it. Where did the wellness dialogues come from, and how did that come about?
Right. On like, how much time do you have Monday? So let's like rewind to last year. I was going through a breakup, and I remember feeling this kind of like shrinking sensation, not like literally, but like in terms of self-esteem. And I remember like my partner at the time often commented like how curious I was, and I was like too inquisitive, and I was like too, like into psychology and too involved in people and probing him. And so I remember after our breakup, I was like, well, maybe he's right. Maybe I am to this, to that, to this. And so I remember having this kind of thought process. And instead of leaning into that thought process, I thought to myself, what would it be like if I did the exact opposite of how I feel? What would it be like if I took up space? If I said, yeah, I like to ask questions.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm curious. And yes, I care about you. And yes, I want you to ask yourself questions. Then what? And so it really became kind of like a digital journal or my own kind of dialogue. And I really just did it for the purpose of just like being large and taking up space. And I think that, like, I don't know, through being authentic and being myself, like other people have connected with it.
Man, and not just a few people. Like we're almost hitting 10K. I've seen that audience grow because, just like you said, you are connecting people to people through your authenticity. And you know what? His critique was somebody else's blessing. So I love it. I'm so glad that Wellness Dialogues was born. Let's stay in that vein about critique or interrogation, right, or inquiry, because tonight we're really battling or talking. I'll probably. This will be where I edit.
That's good.
So let's stick with this piece on interrogation or inquiry. And when I say interrogation, it's something that is really coming up for me in the context of what we're talking about tonight: intention, motivation, behind goals that we set, behind certain aspirations. It's the top of the year, right? 2021, people are ready to usually make these, goals, and they want to make these resolutions. I myself had stopped making goals and resolutions and started really just kind of putting things out there in the form of intention, and moving in that direction with my energy, with my being, and being present. And I found that that was more fruitful for me than really setting some goals. But how we got here tonight is that leading into my 40th birthday, which was just 2 weeks ago, I had set this goal, and it was a physical goal around doing push-ups, and I didn't reach the goal, right? And it brought up a lot of stuff for me. I started to really kind of regress into this place of self-sabotage and really started to blame myself and for not finishing. And it reminded me of the times in which I was aborting processes. I was not sticking to things. And it really started to bring me down. And what it did is it made me look at what was the intention behind this goal that I set, which was 40,000 push-ups before 40 years old. And again, which I didn't finish. And I was like, what was your intention behind it? Why did you feel so dejected when you didn't accomplish it? And I remember looking in the mirror a couple of days before my 40th birthday, and I was angry at myself because of the aesthetic did not represent what I wanted the aesthetic to look like based on these 40,000 push-ups. So now I had to really think about, what was that based on anyway? So I say all that to say that was my naked truth about how we get here. And when we are formulating these goals and resolutions, what's a healthier way maybe? And you know what? I don't want to place any value judgment on it, but what are some healthy ways to begin to ask yourself questions about, what do I want to accomplish? Where do I want to see myself? If I want to reach this financial goal, if I want to reach this weight loss goal, how can we begin that journey, in your opinion?
I think that's a great question. And I think it all begins with curiosity and just asking ourselves like where this intention or aspiration is coming from and where is it taking us to, right? So where is your desire to do 40,000 push-ups coming from? Is that from the societal place of what it means to be masculine? from a place of what it looks like, or from a societal aspect of what a good body looks like, what it means to be 40 and in shape, right? So is it an external thing? I got you.
Yes. She all in my Kool-Aid. Yes, yes.
Right? Because I would imagine that there's this transition happening for you. You're turning 40 and you probably want to hold on to certain aspects of your life. So maybe there's an insecurity that's kind of like propelling this intention, right? So if your intentions are, if like the foundation of your intention is an insecurity, well, I think that you're probably likely to fail. But if your
Yeah.
intent is coming from a place of like inspiration and something that you truly care about because it's like aligned with your spirit and not your ego, then I think you'll probably thrive.
Okay, y'all. So first of all, you are getting all the naked truth tonight because if you notice, there was a little blunder in there, a little edit that should have taken place. But I'm here for it. I'm here for it. The naked truth is that Julius was like, we need to fix that. And I told him, I said, we're gonna go on and we're gonna make light of this because this is real, live, and direct. So I had to get that out there first. I know there was a mess up in there, so it's all right. It's all good. But anyway. Wow. Okay. So that first part of the conversation, again, I revealed to you, went inward and let you all know what was happening with me in my mind in regards to reaching this goal. And Suzy said something that I really wanted to highlight and I want to bring out, and I want to get your reaction. So Julius, if there's any comments in there, let's bring those up on the screen. We've got some time to talk to the audience here, but I wanted to highlight this fact of like really beginning your goal setting with understanding where is this coming from when you are thinking about something that you want to reach, to identify what is the genesis, what is the source, what is the root of that want or that desire or that need. That is something that I did not necessarily do in the beginning. And now we're just using this example because it's the most recent thing for me that came up for me. But I want you to think about those of you who are watching now and those of you who may be watching a little bit later on, when you are starting the process of setting a goal, whatever it could be, whether it can be monetarily, where it can be about relationships, whether it's about a job or a promotion or a status, right? I want you to think about and take a moment to be truthful and honest with yourself about where it comes from. It's not about judging yourself. Let's be very, very clear about that. It is not about judging yourself, but it is about being honest with yourself. And for many of us, we make these goals because, again, we think that maybe that's what people expect of us. Maybe because that is what we think will validate us if we are able to achieve this certain status or this certain aesthetic in the case that I was thinking about. Like, what did it mean to be 40 and to have a body that would be envied by other people, or saying, and again, I'm going there tonight, y'all. So I hope this helps somebody. But even what does that say when someone says, wow, that's what 40 looks like? That response or that reaction is something that I was not honest with myself about. So I ask you in this first segment, I want us to take away from that is to take the time and to really be honest about what is the actual root of that desire. We have a comment there. Go ahead, Julius. Can we put that comment back up? If the foundation of your goal is insecurity, right, you'll most likely will fail a whole world. Clarissa Brookins, another wonderful therapist and another colleague from NYU. I love you, baby girl. So good to see you on tonight. I was thinking of the need for me to be more credit wise and worthy. I realized the goal was so that I could feel freer with my finances and not feel so poor. I looked inward and realized I didn't have what I wanted. That motivated me. What will I do about it? Thank you, Ken Austin Jr. So let's think about this. I want to take a moment to say, Julius, can you bring that comment back up on the screen? Because I want to make sure that as we're talking through with this. So I wanted to be more credit wise and worthy. The thing that I am keying in on, and I know what you mean by credit wise and worthy, but I'm just keying in on this because I also too relate to this. Worthy. Let's think about that word worthy. What makes us feel worthy of being in a room? What makes us feel worthy of being recognized? What makes us feel worthy to have a place in society, right? And when you're saying here this more credit wise and worthy, it's an admirable goal to want to make sure that your bills are paid on time so that you can be recognized by this institution and other people to have access to get things, a house, an apartment, a car, etc., whatever the case may be. That's an admirable goal. But I would challenge us, many of us, that within that, we are looking for worth. We're looking for worth, especially a lot of times when it comes to finances, socioeconomic status. So this is a wonderful example of, again, when we're thinking about like, yes, I need to pay my bills on time. Yes, I want to have a high credit score so that I can get the things that I want to get. But if you don't have those things, do you feel unworthy? If you don't have the access to make something happen credit-wise, how do you feel about your worth? What is your worth based on? And that is the crucial question, right? That's the crucial question. Thank you so much. Who gets to define worthy? Yes, Shelley, wonderful question. Who gets to define worthy? What Suzy said was powerful. If you're setting a goal based off insecurity, you're setting yourself up to fail. Absolutely. What are some tips for not getting pulled into the societal pressures? Again, Clarissa, I appreciate you saying this, right? So when thinking about some tips that doesn't pull us into the societal pressure, the first thing is we have to be vigilant around what we take in and how we interpret that. Now, I'm going to say for me, I have to be very, very careful about my social media intake. And I know I'm not the only one. So if this resonates with you, somebody put something in the comments, because social media and the images that are curated by people and that are then given to us to consume many times, and I'll speak for me, example, has a way of distorting my image of what is success, distorting my image of what is worthy of recognition, distorting my image of what it means to be wealthy and healthy, right? If I don't have a six-pack, if I don't have large pecs, well then, based on what I'm consuming, if I'm not careful, that may tell me that I am unhealthy and that I'm unworthy of maybe someone's love or attention or admiration, right? So that would be the first thing that I want you to think about. I'm a big procrastinator when it comes to goals. I feel not worthy sometimes because I slack. Wow. Procrastinators, raise your hand. Right here, right here. I've been one. If there was a meeting for it, I'd be the chair, I'd be the president, right? And it is something that, again, Crystal, I can definitely identify with, because procrastination, a lot of times for me, was rooted in me feeling like I wasn't good enough to meet the task. Think about that. My procrastination, or me being prone to putting things aside or putting things off, if I was really honest with myself, was really rooted in my thoughts that I was not good enough, or that I wasn't smart enough, or that I didn't have the skills or capability to do it. So I put it off. I avoided it. Now that's a whole nother show. But let me tell you, this is something that, again, we need to inquire. Social media, Mike said something over here. Social media really lures in the need for validation when that was never an issue before. Yeah, Mike, and again, I will have to say, I don't want to demonize social media, because I think social media is what connects us here today. And social media has the ability to give us information that is vital for our growth and our development, and that can be extremely helpful. But also, it can have the opposite effect. So that's why I say, in going back to Clarissa's comment and really thinking about what are some ways that we don't get sucked into the societal standards, I want us to be very vigilant about what it is we are consuming. And that requires our action and our boundaries that we draw to say, I cannot continue to consume this, because I know myself and I know how images, right, and perceptions become distorted. And I'll say this, I've said it before and people have heard it, but it's worthy of saying again. Please do not be fooled by what people present. So if our goal is based on what people what people are presenting, we have to be very, very careful. Very careful, because that distortion or that curated image is not reality. It's not reality always. It's not reality always. I want to go to our next segment, which actually is talking about the insecurity. That was the question that came up for me at the end, is just to say, well, so what role does insecurity play in our goal setting? Let's go ahead and go to that. How big of a role does insecurity play in our intention and motivation when it comes to goal setting?
I don't know. I think it's hard to quantify, but I would say that oftentimes, like perhaps in your situation, we can project our insecurities onto something more tangible, right? So in our insecurities, we might feel helpless or like we don't have control, right? But what we do have control over is how many push-ups we do and what our body looks like, right? And how we want to show up in the world. So I think we can project those things because it's easier to deal with when they live on the outside of us, right? When they like live on a calendar of doing this thing. So I don't know if it's like all goals and intentions are rooted in insecurity. I think it's more so that our insecurities are hard to live with. So we want to externalize them so that they live on the outside of us.
Wow. Our insecurities sometimes are hard to live with, so we want to externalize them, right? What do we have control over? I thought that was so powerful in what Suzy said. And again, really just hitting home and to understand that there are things within us that we feel out of control. And so what is this need that we have to have some sense of dominance over what we think we can control? I thought that by doing 40,000 push-ups, right, externalizing that into I can do six, and it was some ridiculous amount, right? It was at like 600 push-ups a day at one point when life was still happening. I wasn't even taking into consideration the realities of scheduling, the realities of bandwidth, the realities of capacity, because again, I was laser focused in what I thought was the definition of health and beauty aesthetic and what I wanted to represent as 40, right? That was powerful. It is easy to externalize because to look within can be hard. Yes, Shelley, to look within can be hard. And you know, they say hindsight is 40/40. Wait, is it 40/40 or 20/20? I think it's 20/20, but I think I'm saying 40, so I want to make everything 40. We're going to say hindsight is 40/40 tonight. I caught myself on that. But the hindsight, right, is like, damn, if I would have just been honest with myself, would there have been a different, first of all, outlook or perspective on the goal? Is 40,000 feasible? Is it necessary? What am I trying to accomplish? Do I want to set a healthier routine and regimen? Do I want my pursuit of a healthier routine and regimen to maybe hopefully inspire others to maybe take a look at their routines and regimen and to make changes in their lives that would promote a healthier existence? Right? That's a big difference than I want to stun on these 40-year-olds. I'm just saying. Let's get another comment in here. Okay, setting goals is based off of struggles. By struggles, I mean what we experience maybe in our childhood or even adulthood. So when setting goals, we are seeking something better. Listen, I'm going to pause on that because I want you to hear what the next segment says. It's going to speak to that. So let's go into that. You know, I was reading something in preparation for these shows, and Suzy, you'll be with us for 2 weeks, so I'm so excited about that. But I think sometimes people use motivation and intention interchangeably.
Mhm.
And when I was just kind of doing some reading, it was more so about like intention feeds motivation, and the fact that the intention is, and please let me know if you disagree in any way, or if you have a different interpretation of it. But like intention is what you want to create, is that energy that you're putting out there, and the thing which you can visualize and you can see, and the motivation is how you feel about what you're doing, is kind of how I interpreted it. And going back to my scenario that I shared with you, my intention was really kind of rooted in, again, this external thing and some of the insecurities that I was looking at. And again, being honest, I had really lately been feeling unseen. I've been
Mhm.
feeling unseen in a lot of different spaces and places that I was in. And so there was this intention to be seen, to be
Mhm.
recognized, to be validated. My motivation, however, was not sustainable, because when life happened, right, the intention for me wasn't rooted in something that was really intrinsic. And I don't, and these are things that I'm still processing and working out. But because I questioned, I said, Monroe, why didn't you stay motivated to do these push-ups to reach this goal? Like, why
Mhm.
didn't you? And so this was this piece on trying to look at the difference between intention and motivation, or how do they work together. For you, intention, motivation, how do you see those things working together? Or
Right. Well, I think that one thing that I view a little differently is I would say that you, like you said, you had an intention to be seen.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
would change that wording into a need to be seen,
Mm,
right? You
mm,
have these needs. And in order to fulfill that need, like I said, you externalize them to probably to receive validation, right? So I'm wondering what would it be like instead of you identified your need and said, you know what, I'm really needing some love today, and you tell your partner you need some love in, or you do something right that's more like a direct way of receiving and fulfilling your need than doing something that's kind of more um, I don't know, convoluted. But in
yeah,
terms of motivation, I don't know. I think it's kind of like a symbiotic relationship. I think that we
okay,
have intentions. The intention motivates us. Our motivation leads to other intentions, right? And it's kind of like I think they feed off of each other. And I wouldn't say that like one comes before the other.
okay, okay. So I think your question was a beautiful transition or segment into what we were talking about as far as the needs, right? I appreciate that. Once again, you said setting goals is based off of struggle, need, right? By struggles, I mean what we experience maybe in our childhood or even adulthood, right? Let's get to it. A need. What is this need? Unspoken or unidentified. So when setting goals, we are seeking something better. We are seeking to potentially satisfy a need. And so again, when we're going back, right, what is it that we are not acknowledging? What's the need? And that's hard, because for me, and Shelly, you just said it, it was hard for me to say, I have this need to be seen. Wow, that was so heavy. It felt so childish. That's my naked truth. It felt so childish for me to say that. What I'm learning is not to judge myself too harshly if I fall short of goals, because every day is a new opportunity to get moving. It's an ongoing renewal to encourage myself through my shortcomings. My cousin, sister Tracy, I don't know if she's watching tonight. She said, "Don't use bat, use feather." And I needed to hear that again, because a lot of times we are our worst critic, right? And we're the one who is, we don't need nobody else in line to beat us up, because we're doing a good job at that of ourselves. But instead of us criticizing ourselves, I want us to be honest about what we need, right? I want to see that comment one more time, and then we're going to get ready to wrap up to the externalized piece. I also think there's this need to externalize as Black folks, because we live in a world that tells us we're unworthy. Society deems us as unworthy, and life just adds to it. I'm telling y'all, listen, it's just, you guys are doing some great segments, because I'm going to give you just a quick, brief look into what to expect for next week. Let's bring that up.
Changing their body, acquiring more money, getting the car, doing the thing, right? And so I like really actively push back against that because it's so deeply rooted in capitalism. And as we know, capitalism and white supremacy are intertwined. They can't really be teased out from each other.
What I say, y'all, it's like we're just having this beautiful telepathic relationship. But yes, next week, I want you to come back as we continue this conversation about go-getters. What's the real reason behind it? I want to thank everybody tonight for your input. This felt so good. It's been a minute since I've been live and having this energy and this dialogue with folks in the audience. Man, it felt so good. Thank you all for your comments, those who put comments on the screen, and those of you who may be having dialogue with yourself or with somebody else in the house. I want you to please make sure that you like, you share, and you subscribe. It is going to make sure that we continue to lift this conversation up and more people can get involved and hopefully more of us can heal. And last but not least, please make sure that you get into the Facebook group, the Naked Truth Experience Facebook group, y'all. Let's start some chatter in there and let's continue the conversation. As always, I want to thank my illustrious producer, Julius Jones. He's back with me and he's here to stay. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. Same time next week, 9 p.m. Eastern. I'll see y'all. Take care.